Revenge against ghosts. We all have the right to live in psychological tranquility, but not all of us exercise that right. Some spend their lives claiming, with their attitudes and actions, the emotional insufficiencies of their development, enclosing themselves in a bubble of illusions and immediate satisfactions, which entail revenge against ghosts. In these illusions, it is expected that the universe or some external agent will provide the riches and respect that the subject feels he deserves, and according to him, he deserves the exceptional, which never arrives, because he does not make an effort for it. We expose this psychological dynamic with an example. One subject died from heart problems. It was the result of neglect of health that, despite endless warnings and medical recommendations, the subject always devalued clinical opinion. He took the prescribed pills, but he couldn't exercise or stop excessive consumption of soda, tobacco, and the occasional liquor. He was subject to a criminal complaint for not complying with child support for a daughter he was never interested in meeting. He felt it was unfair that the girl's mother had reported him, and the illusion of murdering the complainant crossed his mind. His anger increased his already serious health problems due to an unhealthy eating practice that never changed, and a neurotic attitude, always complaining about the misfortunes that his carelessness caused. For example, anger when he had to pay for the ownership of his vehicles, a high cost for the 3-year debt. Always complaining about issues that he caused himself. But in those 3 liters of cola a day, those 2 boxes of cigarettes, and his always fried food, coupled with the occasional liquor, gave him not only pleasure, but also the feeling of freedom of not being subject to any medical nor emotional regimen. He illusorily felt that justice was being served, in the face of ghosts. That is, in his unconscious, he took revenge on father figures who did not value him. On the contrary, they attacked him daily psychologically, and on subsequent occasions also physically. He illusorily took revenge in the staging of pleasure and lack of responsibility, proclaiming himself free from any scolding and imposition, as if delivering the message that I don't have to please you or anyone else. In fact, his favorite phrase, which seems to be written on the flag, with which he navigates through life is, I have no commitment to anyone. But this is a self-deception, since, in those scenes of pleasure and triumph, he is always unconsciously summoning his father figures, by constantly triumphing over them. That is, he lives, and he died for them. He lived, if that is what you can call an existent subject to revenge, with the secondary gain of always feeling his parents present. Unconsciously, he kept them existing, according to him subject to having to pay for what they did, by watching him, while he triumphed over them. But there was also a hope that his parents would love and take care of him. He fantasized and hoped that fate would give him the riches and respect he required. He felt that the universe owed him fortune, so he just had to wait for it to be fulfilled. These fantasies were a manifestation of the unconscious desire for his parents to take care of him, and in the meantime they didn't. He was going to continue with his revenge. So he lived in full fantasy, maintaining a childish posture, not taking responsibility, not separating himself emotionally from his parents. In his egocentrism and unconsciousness, he maintained the idea of being someone exceptional, that the universe had to consent to, but in reality he passed like a shadow, stealthy and dark, sunk in pessimism and disappointment, emotions that he infected those who approached him, but ended up walking away disappointed and sad. In his fantasy, he was a kind of god who took revenge on his parents, by keeping their influence alive and subduing them during his own existence. When he killed himself, in his fantasy he also killed them too. He lived and died, locked in a bubble of illusions, within which is the compensation for not having received a good evaluation during his development. He believed himself to be a descendant of royalty, belonging to a different race from the people around him. According to him, he was destined for fortune and to belong to the ruling class, but due to the envy and malice of others he never achieved it, so he was subject to living with people who had less value than him. Needless to say, in his interpersonal relationships he was characterized by the manipulation and use of others, but, even so, he believed that the ones in need were the manipulated, and that others owed him favors for having the joy of sharing with him. The psychological dynamics exposed, unfortunately, are frequently detected in hundreds of people. They head towards certain death without having enjoyed their existence, living to take revenge on ghosts.